Nate, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here. We 100% appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing well, bro. I'm doing very well. It's 9 o'clock over here, so we've been moving and grooving since this morning.
Starting the grind early, I see. Well, I'll just jump straight into every question I ask every guest at the start of the podcast. Um, who is Nate Cruz outside of your
Oh,
profession?
Lee, what a great question, brother. What a great question. Um, if I had to narrow it down, that's such a good question. I would say more than anything, man. I would say I'm a family man. I'm a God fearing man. An overachiever, a veteran, someone wants to get the most out of life. Um, yeah, that's what I would say. Oh, and also a husband, soon to be dad here in September. Um, but yeah, if I had to encapsulate that all within one sentence, it's someone who is looking to get the absolute most out of life.
And I think you've achieved that, and you're on your journey. We'll get to know that later. And I'll describe to you the podcast quickly. While we call the podcast "My Real Estate Story." Yeah, we talk about real estate, but our guests, including you, of course, you can talk about anything you would like to. And I like to move the podcast toward motivation and, of course, the personal side. You're a veteran. Which branch?
Yeah, I served in the Navy from 2017 to 2023.
Yeah, that's my favorite branch too. I have friends in
No,
the Air Force. No, it's all good.
that's awesome. You know what's funny? I was originally supposed to go to the Air Force, and
Okay.
then the recruiters dropped the ball. So I said, you know what? I'll go to the Navy, fly plane somewhere else.
That's cool. Well, where are you operating now, or where do you live right now?
Yeah, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. That's the broader city, but I live in Queen Creek, which is a suburb of Phoenix.
How is it there? How is it there so far?
Um, have you ever been to hell? It is hot, dude. It is ridiculous. It was 105 yesterday. We flew in from Canada on Monday. It was 108. Um, other than the heat, it just started getting hot. Phoenix is awesome, dude. There's so much going on here all the time. There's always real estate stuff. I don't know if you know like um, Eddie Marine or the Batch Bros or any of those people, but they're always hosting meetups out here. That's actually how I got on the team that I work with. Is went to a meetup, ended up meeting like-minded individuals and Chris Geddes and landed more, and everything kind of worked out that way. So to answer the question, it is hot. There's a lot of opportunity, but I grew up an hour east of here, so it's home.
Cool. Is that's the Batch Bros? Did I get that correctly?
Yeah, yeah, the Batch Bros.
Are they like a? They're the creative. They're in the creative space in real estate. Is that right?
Yeah, they're in the creative space. From my knowledge, I think they do a bit of cash deals as well too. But yeah, they've been at it so as long as I've been in sub two, which has been 3 years here in July. Yeah, 3 years since 2023. Yeah, so they're pretty cool,
Speaking
man.
of cash deals, what's your niche in real estate now?
For the most part, I would say we do probably 65% creative. Of that creative, I would say majority. It's probably split 50-50 between sub two and seller finance deals. And then also we've been doing a bunch, especially this year, a bunch of hybrid deals. There's just within those good sub two interest rates. Now there's so much equity built up from the time of 2019 to now, whenever those good interest rates came. So now we're doing a lot of hybrid deals, and then your cash deals every once in a while. We were working with a hedge fund at the beginning of the year, slinging deals to a fund, and then politics and the world kind of happened, and now we've pivoted, and now we're doing more direct to seller stuff because funds stopped buying. So in short, a lot of creative deals, seller finance deals, especially. We make some good juice on those. And then every once in a while, like I said, probably 35% of the time, some cash deals.
Our company pay offer. We do a lot of cash deals as well, and that's our main niche. Seems like you guys are like doing. You're kind of like the jack of all trades, right? And before we jump into that,
Yeah.
just a moment. I know I'm jumping into the real estate, but just to mention as well, we talked to someone in Phoenix. I don't know if you know him. He was our guest previously, Brent Daniels, the king of wholesaling.
Oh, dude.
We
Yeah.
got him in the podcast. Yeah,
No way, dude. Brent is
yeah.
awesome.
Amazing.
He hosted, him and Pace hosted, and Jamil hosted Wholesale Hotline. Whenever I first got into real estate, I went and sat at Wholesale Hotline a few times and just listened to the knowledge, and I would listen to it all the time. Anyways, fast forward to like 3 or 4 months ago, my partner Landon, he has a membership at Lifetime in I don't know what you would call it, like the Arcadia area. And we're walking into Lifetime Fitness, and there's Brett Daniels, and we chatted with him for like 15 minutes. Coolest dude, swole as hell. Yeah, bro's absolutely swole. I'm like, bro, when did you put on all this muscle? But yeah, he's a cool dude.
We got him, and like we had an apprentice from Pace Morby as well here, so we've been very fortunate, and we're fortunate to have you guys. But before I ask the other questions, before we dive into actual real estate, I want to get to know you and how you got started. How was your journey from, when you were a kid and up to how you got here and into real estate?
Oh man, how young you want me to start?
You look young though. You look very young.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll give you a little background. I'm 27. I just turned 27. 2 Wednesdays to go. So 2 weeks ago I turned 27. Um, I guess you know what's funny is I come from a family of like entrepreneurs, right? So my mom and dad had me. I think they were like 25, and long story short, my mom and dad split, and so I still spend a lot of time with my dad. It's not like I didn't have a dad or anything, but I was raised and kind of shown how to be a man, I would say a little bit, by my uncles. And all my uncles, whether it's, my uncle Xavier, he is a life coach, and he's just always up to something, always um, up to something like great, it seems like. Every time I talk to him, he's got a new insight that he pours into me. And so my uncle Greg, he owned a welding business and just a bunch of different businesses, so on and so forth. All my uncles have always poured into me this entrepreneurial mindset and just chatting with them. And so from an early age, man, just chatting with my uncles and them constantly pouring into me, I think it kind of lit a fire in my butt of like, hey, I think I want to do something. Now, with that being said, both of my grandparents, my grandpa on my dad's side and my mom's side, were both in the Navy. One served during World War II, the other served during Vietnam. And so it was always in the back of my head of like, this is a good option. You know what I mean? Like, this is a good option. They would always say good things. Um, they'd always talk about how awesome the experience was. And so, growing up, going to high school, I was the funny guy. You know what I mean? I've always been cool, funny, and that was kind of just who I was. Social butterfly, always able to get along with everyone. And so it came down to it. I think it was the beginning of my senior year of high school. So this is back in like 2016, 10 years ago. And my mom asked me like, "What are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna join the Navy. Like, I don't want to go to college. I've always been stay humble here, but I've always been smart enough to do the bare minimum, right? I've always been, yeah, I can get B's and C's by just showing up to class, paying attention a little bit, but not really applying myself. So I said, I'll join the Navy. I don't want to go to high school, or excuse me, I don't want to go to college. I could have went to college to play tennis. I was really good in tennis, and I'm like, you know what? I know myself. I'm gonna end up squandering the opportunity. So let me go learn some discipline and set myself up for later on in life. Joined the Navy I signed the papers in November of 2016. Ended up joining or enlisting, I guess you would say, in August 16th, 2017. So from there, man, grew up. My mom raised me. I mean, you don't realize how much you have it until you don't have it, right? So I remember going to the airport and just from the minute you step onto boot camp, you're just getting yelled at, and I'm like, what did I sign up for, dude? This is crazy. And so did that boot camp, and then for the next 5 years, I was stationed in Chicago, Pensacola, Florida, San Diego. While I was in San Diego, went on a deployment, went on a RIMPAC, which means basically all the navies of the world to get together in Hawaii and do like war exercises. I don't know if you've seen the movie Battleship, but it's literally just like that. Um, and then moved to Washington. We had to do what's called a dry dock, and that basically means they take the boat out of water and they work on it for a year and a half. While I was there, met my wife at a music festival at the Gorge Amphitheater. It was by the grace of God that I met her. Honestly, I had no intentions on meeting a wife whatsoever. But anyways, met her, fell in love, and then for the next year, I went back and forth between Canada and Washington. She's Canadian. Um, yeah, I always tell everyone I got a foreign girl.
That's a good one.
um, yeah, even though it's just up north, I still got to flex it. Um, then with that, after that, man, we went down to back to San Diego, went on a 10-month long deployment. That was tough. I mean, what a relationship tester, right? We'd been together like a year and a half, and I go away for 10 months. Came back, started getting ready to get out of the military. While I was, so this is the transition into real estate a little bit, but while I was getting out of the Navy, there was this program within, well, fast back forward a little bit more. On my last deployment, I started reading, Rich Dad Poor Dad, 10X, Grant Cardone, um, all of the books. Right, I'm reading them. I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on. Well, there was this program that the Navy had, and it was called a Skill Bridge program. They probably still have it, but essentially, what it is the Navy says, "Hey, we recognize that you're going to get out of the military. Let's give you up to 3 months to leave early to go chase an apprenticeship of sorts, right?" And so after reading these books, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna go be a real estate agent. Like, I can do that. And to be honest with you, it was more so like I want to get out of the Navy soon. So I was supposed to get out in August. I'm like, I can get out in May if I do this. And I put in the package. I'm waiting, and I don't know if you've ever dealt with the government, but it's like as you go. It's so slow. They don't tell you what's going on. It's terrible, right? So it comes down to like the last day, they end up not accepting the package, and I'm super bummed out. I don't get to go home, and I don't get to start, being an agent because I'm like, dude, I could slang houses all day. Are you kidding me? This is cake. Um, so I end up a month later snapping my ankle, um, and I end up pretty much getting out of, well, not getting out, but I didn't do anything for the last 2 months. I sat at home for the last 2 months I was in the Navy. Get out in 2023. Was it 2023? Yeah, it had to be 2023. Yeah, I got out in August of 2023, and then came back to Arizona. And because I had got out honorably and had all my faculties in order, I got my GI Bill and used it to go to school. So I went to school for a year. No, I got out in 2022. There we go. Okay, so I got out in 2022. Yeah, I'm remembering now. Got out in 2022, went to school, majored in business administration for a year and a half, and that was awesome, man. Learned a lot of good stuff. I mean, but I realized, dude, I'm good at school. I know how to apply myself. I know how to get straight A's, but I hate school. This is horrible. So then, coming into the summer of 2023, I did a Grant Cardone course and like a couple sales courses, and I'm like, man, I think I want to start selling. And then it brought me back to, well, dude, you literally wanted to be a real estate agent. Like, why don't you do something within real estate? Started looking, scouring the internet, looked at, everyone. It was back then the guru market was huge, right? Everyone was a guru, right? And like, dude, who's someone with some substance, like someone who's been around for a bit, someone who seems like they're going to be around for a bit, and someone
Has
that
the
I like,
receipts. That someone has the
yeah, and
receipts,
someone that
right?
I jive with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I ended up coming across Pace,
Pace Morby. Okay.
and I'm like, dude, he's funny as hell. I like what he's talking about. This is right when interest rates were rising up out the roof, and I'm like, dude, it would be amazing to understand how to manufacture my own interest rate within a deal or take over someone else's. I remember in high school, my auntie asked, like, hey, you can take over the payments of the car. I'm like, how does that work? 10 years later, I'm like, dude, this is how you do it. This is crazy. So that kickstarted everything, man. That was it. That was, wow, like, here we are. Let's do this thing. I think the course was like 9 grand. I literally got out of the Navy a year ago. I'm like, I wouldn't even call it a course because like you learn a bunch and then it's the community that you're really paying for. And I remember being like, okay, like let's do it. I have money in stocks. So while I was in the Navy, I cut hair. Well, rewind. I built my actual job was an aviation ordnanceman. So I built bombs, missiles, everything that goes boom that you put on an aircraft. I did it. Yeah, it was an awesome job. While I did that, my side hustle, going back to being the entrepreneur, right, was I cut hair. Because on the Navy ship, the barbershop, they suck at cutting hair. It's like going to like Supercuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
But
gotcha.
Supercuts does a way better
Always
job.
crew
Like,
cuts. Always just the
yeah,
crew
dude,
cuts.
exactly. And so I ended up saving like just from cutting hair alone in my time. My last deployment, I made like 15 grand just cutting hair. And so I had some money set aside, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. Let's buy it. And then that segued me into real estate. And since then, 2023, that's what I've been doing for the past 3 years.
Gotcha. That's an amazing story from, I think you were led by example by your family, and I'll have a good question for that later, but there's a lot of questions I want to ask, but there's a missing puzzle piece for me in your story, which I really want to know. Um, what made you start wanting to read those books? Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, right? I read that as well.
Yeah.
10x and all of that. Those are like the Bibles, right? And when you want
Yeah.
to do entrepreneur, what made you want to start reading those books?
Dude, oh my goodness gracious. It was an airman that I had. So in the Navy, airman, petty officer, chief, right? I was a petty officer at the time. What is his name, man? It's gonna drive me crazy.
Sorry.
Hoyser. Hoyser
Okay,
was his
gotcha.
name.
There we go.
Yeah, and he had this book in it was pretty cool. So we had like, just to kind of give a little context, I was in charge of one, they call it magazine, but it's basically a a warehouse of munitions, right? And there's about six of them, right? And so every person on shift, the E5s are in charge of one. Well, my buddy Welch, AO2 Welch, my boy, he was in charge of 84s, and they had a little library within their magazine. Totally couldn't have it. You couldn't have them in the mags, right? You couldn't have anything that could start on fire or anything. But they had a bunch of books, and I remember going down there one day. We used to play spades. I don't know if you ever play spades, but we used to get down on spades. It's download that, brother. It's a great passing time. It's a card game. You can play it with four people. It's super fun. But we're down there playing spades, and I remember seeing it, in their little box, the little box of books,
What was
and
that?
I'm like,
What was that book?
seeing Rich Dad Poor Dad, seeing Rich
Okay,
Dad Poor
okay,
Dad,
all right,
yeah.
okay.
And I'm like, dude, I've heard about this, and I don't know. It must have been like, the internet, Instagram, that I heard about it, and like I'm familiar with him, but I've never read the book, right? And I'm like, dude, let me read it. So I ended up borrowing it um, from him, and then I read it, and then that sparked a fire under my butt. So then from there, I read The Intelligent Investor. That was the very next one. I downloaded that on my phone, and then I read the 10x, right? And I'm just, every time we would go to a port, because you don't have Wi-Fi or anything while you're out there. So every time we'd pull in, I would just download as many books as I can. And then that was my pastime. Is like, all right, I'm just gonna read as many books as I can while I can, because I'm getting out of the Navy in a year.
Could you imagine Rich Dad Poor Dad would be? I thought it would be 10x, but like Rich Dad Poor Dad is your first book. Now, I can't remember clearly. I've read that book a long time ago, but like there are some stuff there that are borderline not legal. If we're honest.
Yeah, I think about it now, and I'm like, God, well, I think it was like 22 years old when I read it, right? And I think about that book now, and I'm like, wow, it's a great starting place. But yeah, dude, it's a great starting place. Yeah, it'll get you in. It should get you in the door.
Yeah, in being an entrepreneur, right? But there were a lot of good tidbits in that book, and like so from there, Rich Dad Poor Dad, you started reading and everything. So thank you. The puzzle piece has been answered. That sounded like honestly, I was picturing everything. It seemed like something from a movie, like you just playing, the military man playing the cards and like just seeing it. And I'm imagining that cinematic, focusing on the books. That's amazing, and like I think you were meant to do that as well, right? Now, being deployed in so many places, you mentioned Washington, San Diego, and um, Where did you live the longest, and what favorite state did you? What's
Oh,
your favorite
dude.
state?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, two things. So I lived San Diego primarily the longest. I probably lived there for in total like 3 years ish, off and on, like a year and a half and then a year and a half. And it's San Diego, you know what I mean? It's San Diego, California. I'm 18, 19 years old, and then I come back 21 years old, right? It was amazing. I had a little, I would say little, but it was a Yamaha R6. So I rode a motorcycle everywhere, hauling butt on the highway. Just your typical, 19-year-old kid going to the beach, surfing with the boys. It was amazing. But I will say, man, the Pacific Northwest and Washington. I was stationed in Bremerton. That will always have a special place in my heart. It is just. I don't know if you've ever been to the Pacific Northwest, but oh my goodness, bro. So like I said, we just got back from Canada on Monday, and it's a magical place, bro. It is you can't really compare it to anything. You know what I mean? It's the sun doesn't like right now. The sun doesn't go down until 9:30, 10 o'clock, and it feels like there's always something to do. It's beautiful. It was like 65 degrees the whole time we were up there. It rains a lot, which sucks, but you know what, dude? If you're able to rock some good boots, it's all good. But yeah, San Diego, then Washington. Those are by far the best. Florida was a little ghetto. I mean, I loved it. It's a little
Just being
ghetto.
honest,
It's a
huh?
little,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know ghetto. I mean, like, well, I've never been to the West, to be honest with you. I have experience in doing marketing and sales in, well, mainly the Southeast. So North Carolina, yeah, Wilmington,
Okay.
Jacksonville. We operate in Tennessee now, so if I get the chance, I'll take your word for it. And, not sure if I'm built for that kind of weather because like Surf City's kind of like my thing, but I think that would be something I can relate to there. But um, well, now let's go back to real estate. Talk to us about. I just wanted to get to know you more, of course, and I have more questions about that as well. Because, like, again, this podcast is, we want you guys to experience something different. Not just a real estate podcast, but let's pivot back to that. Talk to us about your first deal, or if it's not that interesting, maybe your most interesting deal.
Oh, dude, it's interesting.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
It was as you know, man, real estate is full of highs and lows. It's like, one day you're on top of the world, the next day you're like, dude, what is going on? Is this working? And so I've been doing real estate. I mean, it's funny, everyone's different deal comes, some people get it in their first freaking month. For me, it took like 6 months of just grinding, absolutely grinding, making the calls, understanding. And it was in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Wow, where we're from.
Yeah, it was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've done a few deals out there actually,
Gotcha.
and it was. I mean, leading up to it, it was a fairy tale story, right? First call, it felt like a one call close. Followed up the next week. They had been chatting. The real estate agent was on board. Everything was going right, and we get down to it, and I think we had to push closing like 15 days. Just a couple things were being hammered out. Well, this is my first deal, right? I've only been in there 6 months, and I think we ended up making. By the time we closed, I think we made like 18 grand on this deal. So I'm pumped. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? 6 months in, I just made 18 grand, right? And sub twos they're tricky. You got to understand the full story of the sub two, and so during the process, um, I hadn't uncovered that these sellers were moving and they wanted to buy another house, right? And so, with that being said, 2 months later, I get a call. It's like, hey, we're sitting here, we're wanting to close on our next house. We can't because our DTI is not cleared. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dang.
oh my God, guys, you gotta let me know that. Like, if you would have told me that 2 months ago, we could have handled this. You know what I mean?
Always
There's
happens with sub two, right?
there's several different avenues we could have took, but now that we're
That's
already
true.
closed on it, like we're kind of in some trouble. And so, um, fortunately, they were cool, and we were able to figure things out. But man, that was a real wake up call for me. Of like, dude, you gotta. It's easy to blame other people, right? And I had to take it on the chin of like, man, you need to get better at asking these qualifying questions. You need to get better at understanding the full picture. What are they doing after? right? I was so excited to get my first deal that those questions, they just didn't come up, right? It's like, okay, let's get this done, rather than understanding the full picture. And so it was awesome. It was proof of concept. I think I closed my first deal like a week after I got married, after our wedding, which was super cool. I think I was on the honeymoon and the payment came through, and I'm like, dude, this is out of a movie. This is crazy, right? And and then month two pass, and that happens, and you just had to take it with stride. You know what I mean? I feel like in real estate, I'm still to this day, I do deals that I'm like, okay, well, I know not to do that again. Um, but it was awesome, man. It was awesome. It was a great learning experience, and that's how I have to think about that deal. It still gets on my nerves to this day because I'm like, dude, what an idiot! Like, you could have just asked that question, and we would have been good. But they're good. They bought a house. I think they had to rent for a few months, and while we figured everything out, and so everything worked out. But I'm one of those people that I chase perfection, and little things like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, man, what a bonehead move.
Well, for 6 months, that's actually really impressive because, like, when beginners, usually the expectation, at least from my experience, is usually that 8 months to a year is fine, still good. That's still pretty good. But 6 months, that means, for me at least, in my perspective, that's a lot of talent, a lot of communication. Um, Speaking of talent, what do you think makes you or what do you do differently when you do deals, when you talk to people, or what do you think? I just ask it. What do you think is special about you when you're doing your deals and makes you, make those deals?
Look at me, man. Come on. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh, I can't disagree.
No, I would say honestly, bro, more than this goes back to like being the social butterfly, right? Like, um, like my partner Landon, he has this phrase, and we want to get it on a hat, but just like rapport whore, right? It's like more about the rapport, and I've always took the saying people buy from people they like, right? Dude, that's my biggest thing is like if we can have a conversation and we can connect on a human to human level, you're going to want to buy from me. You know what I mean? Just because it's easy. You know what I mean? Those conversations are easy, and it's easy. I've always been a good listener. I've always been, um, stay humble, but I've always been a good communicator, and it's easy for me, right? Like conversations are very easy. It's very easy to, and not in like a sinister or any type of way, but like it's easy for me to gain trust, right? Because I feel as though I'm a trustworthy person, right? I keep myself accountable. I hold others accountable. Um, and so if I would say that anything that's different, I would say, you can read a ton of books, you can know all the knowledge in the world, you can know everything about how to shoot, about the way a gun shoots, but unless you know how to shoot a gun, it doesn't really matter, right? And so I would just say, like, I know how to shoot a gun. I know how to talk to people. I know I have five sisters, right? I'm one boy of five sisters, and so I feel like God has blessed me with a level of emotional intelligence from dealing with women my whole life, right? That picking up on those social cues and picking up on tones and a lot of stuff that I didn't realize was even like sales, that is a large part of sales, tone matching and all these things, they come natural to me. You know what I mean? It's like they asked Beethoven, like, why are you so good at doing the piano? And he says because it just comes to him. He just plays it. And that's how I feel like when I talk to people. I just play the instrument. I just talk. It's just easy for me.
So it's natural because usually my follow-up question from this is like, is it a talent or skill? Definitely 100% it's a talent for you, right? And like
Yeah.
you said it, I like that part where you said it's like sinister. It's not like it's not sinister because I'm a marketing specialist, but I also do the sales thing. People don't understand, like, sometimes even if you want to sell to the person, that doesn't mean that we don't care about you, right? That doesn't mean we're not listening. That's a big part of sales. It's actually just caring about the person, whether we get the sale or not. But in
Yeah.
terms of whether getting the sale or not, tell me, what was your biggest, or your biggest challenge in real estate?
Dude, I think those first 6 months, were actually, I take that back. Like I said, highs and lows, man. And so it comes in waves, right? Like I think it was either Jamil or Brett Daniels who said, in wholesaling, you make the majority of your money 6 months out of the year. And bro, that is so true. And so you go through these lulls of like, dude, we're not making any money. Like, what do I do? Am I doing something wrong? And it's just about staying the course. So backtrack. Obviously, those first 6 months of grinding, you feel like you're absorbing everything. It's not that hard because it's new and exciting, and it's like the possibility for a payout is there. You don't understand how hard the work is. You don't understand how much work it's going to take. You don't understand the things that you need to learn to get to that point. And so it's easier in that sense because you have a carrot of sorts, right? It's new and exciting. It's a new experience, but it's hard because it's new and exciting and it's a new experience, right? You don't know what to expect. You don't know if you're doing the right things, if you're making, saying the right things on the phone. So those first 6 months were super hard. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten hung up on in that first 6 months, or like just my primary role since I've been doing it is direct to agent, right? I love talking to agents. Is so easy to me. It's cake. They're humans at the end of the day. If you can get past the facade of them being an agent, they're boys and girls at the end of the day, right? But I remember this one dude. I won't say his last name, but his first name, but his last name was Rose. And I remember we got on the phone, and this was like in my first like 3 months, and Buddy just starts insulting me, and I'm like, "What is going on here? Like, this is the craziest thing ever." Now I understand that's just par for the course. He was talking to someone that was, you know, didn't necessarily know what he was talking about, and he was little boy in me. And so dealing with times like those where it's like you feel disrespected and you feel, you know, um, I guess almost unworthy for a deal in a sense. And that was the hardest part. But then backtrack probably like a year and a half ago, man. Right after that deal, my first deal, so maybe 2 years ago, right after my first deal, I remember that happening and really hit me hard because I'm like, man, like I got my first deal done. It's awesome to get paid, but like, dude, someone, you know what I mean? Someone wanted to move into a house, and because of my lack of due diligence, that's gonna have to be postponed. I remember, that hit me hard, and like, man, like, is this something I want to do? Do I want to, continue on this path, having this much responsibility? And so those two things, man, those were hard. And then for me, I feel like every like 6 months is like a recreation moment because it's always that seems to be the cycle of when things go up and down. And so now it's cool experiencing those two things because now I know that okay, if I'm feeling down or whatever, oh dude, it's just because we're in a little bit of a dry season or like, this is going on. So yeah, that's what I would say, dude.
Gotcha. Well, a lot of people think, because what I latched onto what you said is, these are just people. We're all people at the end of the day, whether it's the agent or the broker or whatever, right? Even the homeowner. A lot of people think that real estate is, what resonated from what you said to me is real estate is not only about the property or the houses, right? It's actually about people. Can you tell me your thoughts on that? Can you tell me your thoughts on real estate in general and like how you perceive it? And yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said there, dude. It is 100%. I think real estate is 95% people, 5% about the house, right? I think in any situation, I think the house is like a byproduct. Obviously, that's what you want, right? That's like what the deal is about. But whether you're on the acquisition side or the disposition side, that's what I do now is I just slang the deals, right? It's just nonstop working with people. Yeah, we write contracts. Yeah, we, you know, open escrow. Yeah, we negotiate. Yeah, we do all these things. But at the end of the day, whether you're open in title, talking to a buyer, talking to a seller, talking to the appraiser, it's all about working with people. It's literally, you just can't do it without. And now the house is just a caveat. You know what I mean? The house is just like, obviously that's where we're making money. But I've shifted my mindset to exactly what you said is like, I think in the beginning, a lot of people get, deal breath because they think it's all about the house. They think it's all about the deal. And when you can shift your mindset into like it's not even about the deal or it's not even about the house. It's about the person. You know what I mean? Like I can't tell you how many accidents have been averted by just focusing on the person and like, hey, what are your needs? You know what I mean? Hey, you need to stay in the house for another 15 days. Cool. We'll push back escrow. Hey, you need $2,000 for your moving costs. Perfect. We'll give you 2,000 up front. We'll deduct it from you. You know what I mean? All about managing those things and what does that person need, whether it's the agent, the inspector, the seller, whatever the heck it is. That's the biggest thing ever, bro, is just understanding that you're working with people, and that fundamentally is what real estate's about. And now I'm also a little biased because I don't own any real estate myself. So in the future, obviously, I think my perspective will change a little bit on this because I think I'll probably view it more as an asset, and which I do view it as that, but it's not like in my realm of handling right now. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, and future reference, I would say, yeah, it's an asset. I think real estate, holding it, I see a lot of people get in trouble because they try to get rich quick off of real estate. And you know what? You can do a wholesale deal, you can flip a house, and you can make some good money. But for the most part, man, it is a slow cooker. It is a crock pot. It's not a microwave. And I wish I knew that going into it is like, hey, dude, you're probably not going to make any serious bread until like year 5, right? You make good money, but like the majority of people don't make really good money until year, 3 to 6. Um, yeah, to answer your question.
You answered it wonderfully, man. So I think you're in your third year or working on your fourth
Yeah,
year in real estate. That's
yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
That you are amazing about like everything. It's like that's why I mentioned earlier, like you look so young, and it turns out you are very young, had a lot of success, and being in the military and all that. Uh, there's something that popped in my head that I wanted to ask earlier. Was being accountable, I love that you're always about accountability. Was it something that was innate with you, or like did you learn that from the military, or were you
Yeah,
always like that?
great question. I have a Hispanic mom,
Okay.
and so she held me accountable with a chancla for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no questions asked. Exactly, kind of ingrained in me, right? Like, come from a very traditional family. Also, I pushed back my meeting to 11 if you wanted to spend more time. I just figured we're chatting away. Um, but yeah, grew up in a very traditional Hispanic household family, and so I think a large part of it came from that, right? My mom was always, and she actually should have. I could have turned out to be a very bad kid, but she was always on my butt, right? Always made sure I was hanging around the right people. She was the first person who ever told me, like, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are, right? And so she always protect. Yeah, dude, my mom is. She's a wealth of knowledge, man. She graduated high school and she may not have went to, university or anything like that. However, she's probably one of the smartest people I've met, dude. She just understands the world in a way that um, it takes experience, right? It really does. And so she was always pouring those things into me, and as a point to that, always holding me accountable, always making sure I was hanging out with the right people. I wasn't dating girls that were no good for me. Always made sure that I was like, I remember one time in high school, I had got in trouble for it's terrible, but plagiarizing, right? Plagiarizing and it was like a small assignment, right? But it was bad enough. They called me into the office and they called my mom in. The principal literally told my mom, he's like, "Hey, you're gonna do more than I can. So here's what he did. Figure it out." And I was
Dang.
grounded for the summer, and that chocolate came into full effect. And so, yeah, having that ingrained in me to be accountable to myself. I remember my mom would always say, "Hey, whenever you're gonna do something bad, I hope you hear my voice in your head saying, I'm gonna find out, right?" And I still think about that to this day. And so it's like that, and then obviously joining the military just exacerbated that, man, because now it's like rules and regulations, the way you dress, the way you talk, hell, the way you smell, right? It's all got to be in check. And now, getting out, I think I was 22 or 23 when I got out of the military. It's tenfold. You know what I mean? I want all my stuff in order, you know, hold myself accountable. If I mess up, I would argue I'm the biggest critic of myself, right? Always self-analyzing. What can I do better? And it's a detriment sometimes, right? Like you obviously, it's a blessing and a curse. Yeah, exactly. But to answer your question, ingrained, but also taught. You know what I mean?
Man, you have been blessed. I just want to say that you've been blessed with the right decision making, and I don't want to say it's luck because you put in the effort, you made those choices, but at the same time, you're blessed to have that mother and your uncle, Uncle Xavier, if I can remember that
Yeah.
correctly, right? So very lucky to have that, and like again, making the right choices. I wanted to ask this because I don't think that's from the military, the accountability thing. That's again, you attest that to your mother. Now with that out of the way from the military, how has the military helped you in your real estate career? Or what was the biggest lesson that you were able to translate to real estate?
Yeah, man. That's a great question. That's a really good question. Discipline and disciplined and what let me think of the word here. Just perseverance, right? Like one of the things in the Navy is like, man, in the first 6 months, I was like, this sucks. This is like, this is so tough. But you got to go. You still got 4.5 years, right? It's just like, hey, we got to keep pushing. Like, quitting is not an option. And so the perseverance of understanding in whether you're going through a hard deal or going through a hard season of real estate, understanding, hey, we got to keep going. Like, quitting is not an option, right? That was a huge thing that has helped me that I attest to the military for sure. Um, and then discipline, man, like the discipline of studying, of you know, um, doing what you say you're gonna do, right? Saying what you're gonna do and doing what you say you're gonna do is huge from the military, right? Like if you have an order, you got to follow that order out. And so I like to think of real estate the same way. If I say I'm gonna do something, if I say I'm gonna, you know, we just start roll out a new marketing campaign for the year of new markets and stuff. Well, I was in charge of doing that, right? Hey, it needs to get done by this time, this date, and you got to present it at our team meeting, right? It's like, okay, cool. Well, then there's no deviation from that. It has to get done. So discipline, perseverance, um, and honestly, dude, I think the biggest one is leadership. Like, yeah, leadership is huge, and that is it's some people I think are called to it, but it is also a skill. So I think it's 50-50, man. Like I think there's some people who are born leaders, maybe more extroverted or whatever it might be, right? There's just some qualities that fit better with a leader, but then understanding how to handle people and how to talk to different people. I could talk to Johnny one way, but I got to talk to Seth a completely different way, right? They have different levers that you pull. And so that's another big thing, right? Like now, so I run the dispositions part of the business rather than just doing acquisitions. Yeah, and so I'm constantly talking to our acquisition reps and and Landon, who he's the owner of the company, and learning how to navigate that and talk to the different people and motivate and just have those conversations. Um, I definitely attribute that to the military, man. That was super 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 helpful in understanding how to communicate to your peers, your subordinates, and your higher ups for sure.
That's why I reacted when I found out that you were in this dispositions because I can't think of any perfect position for someone from the military. Disposition so perfect, like a lot of numbers, a lot of a lot of organization there. Well, I have
Yeah.
five more questions, and again, two of those I'm really interested. The first one is you can answer this quickly if you want, but if you want to dive deep into it, are you special ops?
No, no, not
Oh,
special
okay, so you're
ops.
the bombs. Okay, you're the bomb thing,
I
the
would,
bomb squad.
yeah, I would, dude. I'll tell you this: you have to be a bad mamma jamma to be special ops. It's a whole thing. Not only do you have to be physically just a specimen, you have to be very, very, very smart. And so, I think the minimum on the ASVAB you have to get is like an 85. I think I scored like a 73, right? So you have to be very smart, man. But no, was not special ops.
Gotcha. Okay. So, but I still look at you, anybody from the military, I still look at, superhumans. It's like, I can't,
Yeah,
I can't, your test, as far as I can remember, the test for push-ups is like How'd you guys get to do that? But anyway, so next question is, you were talking about skill earlier. So obviously we were mentioning talent versus skill, but this is a question I ask every single guest. And we keep a tally of this. We're trying to make content out of this. We don't know yet, but and there's no right or wrong answer to this. This is very personal. Both make sense. In the perfect world, confidence and skill meld perfectly together, same level, right? But for you, in your own opinion, which is more important, confidence or skill? Which one will you lean toward to?
That's a that's a really good question. That is a great question. Honestly, dude, I would lean more towards confidence. I would lean more towards confidence. There's this book, "You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bicycle at a Seminar," right? By I'm forgetting his name, but it's a sales book, and he talks about this scenario where this guy has all the product knowledge and stuff, and he ends up talking too much. He's too skillful, and he ends up losing the deal because of something that he said, right? Compared to like I think about a lot of the conversations I have now, I have the ability to divulge all the knowledge and use the skill and the tone matching and the stuff, but just being confident that I think confidence goes a long way, and I think people can pick up on confidence, right? Like, hey, can you get this done? Yeah, I can get this done. Hey, can you get this done? Hey, I get this done. I'll get this done by tomorrow, right? Even though I might not have the skill to do it, and the other person does, you're gonna look at me like, oh, this guy's gonna get it done, no questions asked, right? Now, how good it gets done, that's obviously where the skill comes into play for sure.
Very interesting. You added to the pool very in a unique way, of course. I think we are split. We're no, you are the tiebreaker, I believe. You are number fifth. We're 15 guests now. I think you're number, I don't know, eight of saying confidence and skill. So if you want to have fun, well, I'll send you the link in the podcast. Skip through it and like find out. I had a guest that is saying that he's on the skill side. Again, no wrong, right or wrong answer. He said, I'm going to argue with anyone in a fun way, of course. But yeah, but I agree with you. Confidence gets things done, right? It gets things done. Skills get you noticed or get things done in a better way. So it's a
Yeah.
really good take on that one, and a very good perspective. Next question now, kind of like a this has been kind of like a rapid fire part. Is real estate, being on your third year or like over a little over your third year, can you say your real estate is now your passion? If yes, what do you like the most about real estate?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. That's a really great question. Is real estate my passion?
Your end game passion, you know?
Yeah, great question. I would say, yeah, man. I will always look for deals. I will always, my goal for me and for my family is to own multiple properties, right? And I don't think that'll ever stop, right? It's like, just because you learned how to ride a bike, just because you don't ride it every day doesn't mean that you don't know how to, right? And so I think I'll always be looking for deals. Obviously, I have no clue where life or God will take me, but yeah, I would say real estate. I will always have a knack for it, right? It's like tennis. I will always have a knack for tennis. Now I play pickleball, so the game's changed a little bit for sure. And I think same thing with real estate is like I'm gonna go as hard as I can for as long as I can, and the game will change, no questions asked, right? Like maybe we'll start buying businesses or we'll start, doing different stuff in regards to business, but it's a great store of wealth. It's a great appreciation of wealth. It's great for taxes, right? All the things. Uh, I think it will always be a passion of mine for sure.
Yeah, I think I would like to reference Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a part there where he talks about like corporations, how they deal with taxes. I don't know if you remember that part where it's like he says how corporations spend their taxes. They spend everything and then whatever gets left is is the taxes, what IRS will take. And I think real estate is a more legit way, a more noble way of doing things. And yeah. So I'm glad to third year, and you already known, or you already know that it's going to be your passion. That is amazing. And I think some people think it's smart too that you don't own properties, even up to the end. Some people don't like, that kind of those liquid assets. But anyway, just wanted to mention that. Now, how big is your team now? And what are your long-term goals with, do you have plans in owning your own company or your own
Yeah,
agency?
yeah, great question, man. So now our team is, let me see, we have one, two, three, four acquisitions people, um, myself on dispositions, and then Chris and Landon. They're um, Landon still gets down. He still makes a lot of dials. Um, he's he is like Kobe Bryant. He loves the game. You know what I mean? He loves the game. He doesn't have to make any phone calls. He owns multi-million dollars of real estate, great cash producing Airbnbs and sober livings and what have you. But he loves the game, right? He just loves it. And so he's the best closer I've ever met. So to answer your question, we have four people on acquisitions, myself on dispo, and then Landon, he's a gunslinger, man. He does deals, once a month, once every other month, whatever it is. And then Chris, he is the operations manager, man. Like he's just honestly one of the best leaders ever. He came from Google, right? He quit Google um, to start a wholesale company, and he just he gets it. He's like my own little Hormozy. He's awesome. I love him to death. Yeah. So altogether, there's seven of us. Yeah, there's seven of us. Four of us or four of them on acquisitions, me on dispositions, and then Chris and Landon, kind of overseeing everything. And to answer your second question, yeah, long term, dude, it's tough. Like right now, um, there's that saying, I would rather have 25% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. I have done the freelance and done it myself, and you know what? Like the reality of it is I've learned enough, created enough connections that if I wanted to go do my own thing, I 100% could, and I would be successful at it, no questions asked. But there's something special about the camaraderie and culture that we have, that we all work together, but we're like a little family, right? And so to answer that question is in the future, perhaps, man, it might be, you know what I mean? I also have visions of, they would be cool to, the boys don't want to wholesale forever, right? And so the business may get passed on to me, which would be super awesome. And so just playing my cards right, if I had to do something on the side, uh, I think I would continue wholesaling with the team, um, and maybe like do flips or, buy property and do something else real estate related, lend on the side, whatever that might be. But man, I love my team, man. I feel like Drake, man. I love my team. I love them to death.
Didn't
They're
expect that.
they're awesome.
Gotcha. Really blessed. Like I know we talk about the wins, you talked about the challenges as well, but I just can't help but feel that you're very blessed and like at a very young age as well. Having finding your passion in real estate, having that perfect team. Very quick question here. Um, Being that real estate is your passion, what's your favorite niche in real estate right now?
Oh man, my favorite niche, wholesaling, dude. That's what I've been doing for the past 3 years, right? It's like I know how to wholesale. I get it. You know what I mean? It speaks to me. I definitely understand it now. In the aspect of thinking down the line, dude, I really like how I originally got into wholesaling. Is me and my wife, during the craze of Airbnb arbitrage, we're like, we're gonna own 10 Airbnbs and we're gonna make $50,000 a month, right? And then I was like, yo, the Airbnb market is shifting, and that's not gonna happen anymore. Going back to that, I would like for us to own, 2 to 4 Airbnbs that really produce um, great monthly income, right? Like I would love for that to be my wife's job, is she just manages our Airbnbs, right? Um, so right now wholesaling, but in the future, I would say it would be, high cash producing assets like Airbnbs. Everyone's into like the co-livings and stuff right now. I'm not so much. I would do a sober living, like sober living. I think Landon and Chris have been really, really, really great examples into how to um, put together a portfolio of properties that work for you. Just a wealth of knowledge between those guys. And so, yeah, wholesaling right now, no questions asked. My favorite. I love slinging deals. It's we just assigned a deal while I was in Canada at a wedding. I'm on a phone assigning a deal. Right, love it. I love the grind. But in the future, definitely owning properties that make money, for sure.
I can't blame wholesalers for taking over now. Like a lot of wholesalers, and I see the fun in that though. For me, it's flipping because of the, of course, it's revenue wise. Of course, it's going to be for wholesaling as well. But flipping for me is like quite interesting, and like I think it's more of like the work, the craftsman in me, I'd say. But yeah, wholesaling and like sober living as well. You mentioned that one. Very high yield cash flow compared to like Airbnb. But we had a guest as well mentioning Airbnb is like shifting. You're right. You are on this. Like everybody's on the same page with Airbnb as well because it's basically rentals. But if you can make
Yeah.
a living out of that, that's pretty good too. But anyway, I don't want to eat more of your time because I know you have. I know you moved your meeting, and I appreciate that. Hopefully, you're enjoying it so far, and I am. I totally am. I hope you can see it in my face. But last question or last request from me. Okay, and yeah, you can make it personal or real estate. What would be your last statement for our audience? Words of encouragement, statement of encouragement. What's your last statement?
Hey, you are a great host. I love these questions. These are great, dude. Man, this is what I would say. A ship without a sail and without wind has no direction. So the biggest thing in life is to find a direction. If that means you want to, become a professional bingo player, learn to become the best professional bingo player. Whatever it is that you're going to do, have a direction. You cannot get to a destination without the direction. And so to everyone listening, that's what I would say is get direction, fall in love with the work, and just keep grinding, keep your head down. And whenever you look up, the grass might be greener than it was when where you left.
These podcasts have been like changing me. I'll be honest with you. Like you'll see it in the other episodes, especially yours as well. Thank you very much for your time, Nate. And, I really appreciate it. Our editor is going to have a ball and trying to figure out what kind of quotes we're going to get here. But I enjoyed it 100%. You're very natural. I felt very relaxed, and I hope you enjoy the podcast as well.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, 100%. Like I said, just big ups to you. You're a great host. Great questions. You're the man. I appreciate you, brother.
See you, and let's keep in contact.
Yeah, for sure, bro.